almost afternoon. People who are on the state line of Georgia are past it. Good morning. Well, good afternoon. Everybody else, good morning from the Central all the way back to the Pacific. Good morning. Listen, I was standing out the window. I do that sometimes. I just go outside and stand out the window. Right on the ledge, right on the cliff. I wanna play with danger. No, I was standing outside on the balcony, and I thought two things I wanted to share really quickly, because my phone is on 40%, and Android don't last even if you charge it for 3 years. It said no. I have my sister's iPhone, but it's charging because I killed it last night, just recording a bunch of nothing. Listen, I wanted to share this. Y'all remember in the story of Moses, right? Bible says that when God gave the put on that hoodie, and it got all that red stuff all over my shirt and my head. So excuse it if it's a little bit fuzzy. I got stuff on me. Okay. Bible says that when he went up the mountain, so God called him to do, come up the mountain. You notice that he called him to come up the mountain, and I think it was commissioned of him that he would bring heads of each family with him. He said to him, I want you to gather the heads of the family, the priests of the family, the people who are in charge, but still responsible for their family. Bring them. Let them come with you. When they're traveling and taking the trip up the mountain, the assignment, I believe, was for Moses to get to the top of it. Stay with me. I won't be long this morning. I just wanted to share something really quickly about the altitude. There we go. The altitude. Say, Moses, I want you to come up. Oh, let's go. Oh, maybe it will. Okay, there we go. I just had to wait for it to adjust. All right. I said, Moses, I want you to come up the mountain and come on, just little thing. When you come up here, bring people who are ahead of their family, but lead it with courage and integrity. Okay. My lighting is not gonna do it for me today. And they take the journey. They start climbing up it, right? I noticed that when Moses got to the part where the burning bush is, he's by himself. And it begs the question, in my mind at least, to ask, wonder, to figure out where the other people stopped at. These were leaders, and they were, I think, charged of their community. They had integrity. They were commissioned of God to come, but just not this far. You got to know that the journey that you're on a lot of the times will accompany by people who believe the same values as you, but hold on, because what you're called to is not for them. He says, I want it for you. You know, Moses had to go by himself. There was a part where he had to turn around and tell the people, listen, I appreciate you for coming up the mountain on the journey, but for the rest of the way, I need you to stay here. And that's not light of shade. That's not telling people that they haven't grown. That's not even trying to go by yourself or be alone. That is, I don't want you to suffocate. So don't step out of what God ordained and purpose for you to only come this far. I think that becomes the problem why people die on us. We end up carrying them to parts of our lives that they weren't supposed to be. We push them further beyond their purpose and calling, what they're assigned to me. And so we end up suffocating them in an atmosphere that they were no longer meant to be. God says, I want you to stop them right here. And Moses doesn't struggle with it. He doesn't really suggest to God that maybe he should ordain them different or make them different. He accepts it and leaves them behind. That don't mean that you just walk away from everybody, but that does mean that you have to grow past some people. He said, I want you to grow past it, grow over it, walk away from it, and don't be bothered by it. You gotta trust the process. You mean? I know it don't always make sense why they couldn't come, why this and why that didn't work out, why the job was only, and it seemed like that was going great. I know it was for a season and a time. It helped you on your walk, but it was supposed to stop right here. You can't carry things that are not equipped for your environment to breathe up here and expect them to live when it's past their atmosphere. God said, tell them where to stop right here. But I need you to keep on walking. And that's difficult. You hear me? Uh-oh. It's difficult looking at the space between where you last saw them and where God called you to be. Moses said, I don't like it, but I gotta go. Moses says, I'm not sure how to even feel about it, but I gotta go. So sometimes it'll bring you to a place to be lonely, but I've gotta go. Sometimes it's hard to breathe up here, but you gotta go. And you know, people love you as far as their lung capacity to speak to you, or to reach out and touch you. And some people will try and hold you and catch it, because he told me it was like, well if they're not meant to come to the atmosphere you're called to, then what they'll do is try and hold you because of what their incapacity is, what they're incapable of. They'll think the same over you. It's not that they're trying to stipend you. They're literally trying to save you, but they don't understand that just because they can't don't mean you can. You got to keep going. You don't give up. You don't sit in the wait and be like, maybe we can go together. You don't lose focus on what you're called to just because people who you thought were assigned to you have no longer a purpose on you, because God called you further than what they were told to caution here. Stop at this point. So in my mind, I see them keep on walking, and it gets thinner, the air does. I think it becomes hard to breathe. You know, the higher up the mountain you go, it becomes harder to breathe. This is that the gravity lessens, it weakens, and the air capacity, it begins get denser. It's difficult up the mountain. That's why sheep don't make it, but goats will be at the top of it. It's not for everybody. Catch it now. No, oxygen is hydrogen and 2 counts of oxygen. I meant, yeah, something like that. H2O. But the chemical makeup of it, it's that the higher you go up, the lesser of the chemicals there is in it. to support the weight of what is the environment. So it begins to change and become toxic. And, and if you're not prepared or ready for this environment, then I commission you to step on off of it. Because a lot of the times what will happen is that the chemical changes in your environment. And if your body is not equipped to adjust to it, you'll end up dying from it. It says, in this season, I want you to know, if you drag people to a place where they're atmospherically in their body incapable of handling it, it will kill them. That's why you got to be careful pushing people past where their purpose is in your life. That's why you got to be careful where you drag people and want the best for them and they only see themselves coming that far. Don't push it. That's why you have to be mindful that when God said it, you just believe it. You don't doubt it. You don't be like, I'm not sure about it. God, show me a sign. Just believe it and trust his judgment that if he led you there, then he'll put people around you who are of the same atmosphere. And if not, I don't mean to drag the people who you knew and were accustomed to, used to, the people that you were casual with. Sometimes we just get too comfortable with who we knew. And we forgot that God ordained me and purposed me not to be based off of what I know, but to go further than that, because he called me to grow past it. The chemical began to change, and I think the air becomes toxic, where it's more of a hindrance than what it is a help. It gets to the point where he is alone on the mountaintop. I would say it becomes evident that there's something different in the atmospheric realm, where he stands in front of a tree calling out to God, I cannot see you. It says, far off in the distance, he saw a bush that was on fire, consumed. Listen. But this makes sense, though, because the higher you go up, the harder it is to breathe. And the less hydrogen, the oxygen that you have in the atmosphere, that means there's no water being produced. And so it becomes toxic and form another chemical. And the least little move, the least little thing thrown, the least little thing that you do can start a fire, and God starts one and burns up the rest of the air in the atmosphere. And Moses is up there praying to God, God, what do you want me to see? Show me a sign. Do you have something to say to me? And then the fire starts. You got to be prepared that when things change, you don't get consumed with it. The Bible says God controlled it. He contained it. That he can consume the bush and still not kill it. And Moses is still standing there. And God begins to write it. 10 Commandments. And a note for the very first one, and this is all I wanted to share today. He starts off the very first one not with a suggestion, but with a command. He sets pretext for what the rest of them would follow, for where you are supposed to come and be like, this is what I'm required to do. If I can't do nothing else, this one I can. He said, love the Lord with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. Love the Lord. You know, that's the first commandment. Moses is up there, maybe can't even breathe, and God is saying, love me. I wouldn't say that he's choking, but I will say it's difficult, because when he came down, he looked different than what it was when he went up. It changes you being in an atmosphere that you're not used to. And God says, don't worry about the atmosphere. Just love me. It'll change stuff around you, still be consistent in what I call you to do. Not lead the people, not set slaves free, not be in a place of being like a different mentality. What I need you to do is to love me. And we forget that, you know that? We do, we forget that. We forget my first assignment ain't to preach. We forget my first initiative ain't even for the family. We forget that we're not called to like build and heal and set free and like compose of it and make it and create it. We're not. We're called, first of all, love God. So I know it's difficult for you. I like that. I like that. Even when it's difficult, love me. Even when it seems like it's suffocating you, God says, love me. Even when there's people that were with you, couldn't handle where you were going, so they stayed away from you. So you're required to love me. Because even when it's on fire, even when it don't make sense, even there's stuff that like changes the dynamics of the relationship. First commandment, love me. And when he came down the mountain, he's carrying it. And the people are worshiping something different. So Moses broke it. Not the commandments. The stone that possessed the imagery of the finger of God, that he broke it. Sometimes people don't even deserve it. So break what they abuse it. Moses said, I'd rather break it than to give it to people, the hand of God, who would misuse it. So when you've come to a place where the atmosphere is only different, because by God it's been restricted, break it. That's good. That's good. You're not meant to preach it. You're meant to do it. Let's break it. Break the requirements that you have to be perfect. Break that. All these laws and rules and regulations, but don't forget the finger that wrote it, the hand that gave it. Don't forget the one who commissioned you to be greater, to come up higher, and then to go down. I don't think it was even for the people. And this is for you. He saw him write it. So the people didn't even deserve it. They didn't see value in it, so he broke it. Moses said, before I prostitute it, before I give it to people who would misuse it, who wouldn't even see it, I'd rather stick with the encounter, because people can't take that, but I'll break what it gave me in case they wanted to prostitute it. Moses said, I'll break it. Because what you encounter up there, the more people you get around, it begins to suffocate down here. That's it. That's all I want to share. From the mountaintop. Said some people may want it. Some people may want it. But what you're called to is different. Everybody can't breathe up here. So what you encounter here is for you. That's why God gave it to you. Keep going.